This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network. Visit jabberjawmedia.com for more shows like this one.
Episode 101 of That One Time on Tour is brought to you by the band The Overtones. The Overtones are a three-piece melodic punk band hailing from Sydney, Australia. With influences ranging from The Jam, Ramones, Sex Pistols, and Green Day, The Overtones will be sure to scratch any punk rock itch that you may have. For more information on The Overtones, you can check them out on Spotify, facebook.com/The Overtones Aust, that's AUST, and reverbnation.com/The Overtones Aust, AUST. Now here it is, their new single, Running Around.
Hi, this is Jen from the Bombpops.
And this is Poli, and you're listening to That One Time on Tour.
Run for the road, 'cause it's going on and on. We'll be driving through again.
Hey, everybody out there in podcast land, what is going on? As always, this is Chris Swinney, your host for That One Time on Tour. If you're joining me for the first time, this is my podcast where I get to sit down with somebody in or around the entertainment industry and have a stellar conversation. Thank you so much for checking out last week's episode with my buddy, Mr. Dewey Halpus, over at the Peer Pleasure Podcast. It was episode 100. Big milestone. I'm really stoked. Like I said, most podcasts don't even get into the triple digits. I think it's like only 4%, 3% of podcasts get to 100 episodes. So thank you guys out there for listening because you really made it happen. This is a lot of fun. I love doing this show, and we're going to go for at least another 100, hopefully 2 or 3 more 100 episodes. But on the program this week, I got to sit down and have a chat with Jen and Poli from the Bombpops. Yes, I have 2 guests on today's program. This is Jen's second time on the program, and this time Poli decided to join her, and we had a great conversation. We talked all about the Bombpops' new record, Death in Venice Beach, out now on Fat Records. So before I get into my conversation with that, I want to know how you guys are doing. This virus thing is crazy. I feel like, I don't know, I lived through 9/11. I've lived through a bunch of stuff, but this is insane. It's the not knowing when it's going to end. I've been out of work now for over a month, and we're waking up every day trying to take the kids outside so they have some sort of normalcy and we're not just stuck in the house all the time. But the weather in Indiana is not the best in April. It was like 80 degrees 2 days ago, and we have a freeze warning tonight. So, we're just my wife and I are trying to make sure that the kids don't really worry. I mean, they're young, they're toddlers, so they don't really know what's going on. I was going to pick up dinner tonight, full masked out and everything. And my son's like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to get food, buddy." And he said, "You can't go outside. There's a virus." So he's picking up on it a little bit. We've explained it to him that there's some germs outside, and we have to be very careful when we go out because we don't want to get sick. So I think that's a good thing to do, just to tell the kids what's going on, but maybe not freak them out, But I want to know what's up with you guys, how this virus is affecting you. This has kind of taken over the format of the show a little bit. Every one of my new guests, we've talked quite a bit about it. And it's no different with today. We talk a lot about it with Jen and Poli. So call the hotline, 765-372-8818. Let me know how the pandemic is affecting you, financially, mentally, emotionally, whatever. I'd like to hear about it, and we just all need to stick together and get through this. But before I get to my conversation today with Jen and Poli, I got to pay some bills. The band at the beginning of the episode, all the way from Sydney, Australia, the Overtones. Make sure to check them out. You can go on over to facebook.com or reverbnation.com/the Overtones Aust. That's AUST for Australia. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring today's episode. Also, Permanence Tattoo Gallery over in Anderson, Indiana. They are currently not open, as tattoo shops aren't essential. Maybe they should be. I don't know. But they're not open right now. And to try to, make up some of the lost money that they're losing right now, they've done a lot of really cool shirt designs and everything. And you can check all that out. Just hit them up on the socials. It's at Permanence Tattoo Gallery. Shout out to Jacob and everybody over there. I hope you guys are doing well. Merge 4 socks. I talk about them every week. They've been on this ride for a long time. They're a great company. They have amazing socks, and you can get them right now. Go to merge4.com. And if you guys want to go to Merge4, you want to buy some cool socks, hit me up. I have promo codes for 50% off. They're one use only, so I'm not going to just, give them out right now. But if you guys want to go to Merge4, hit me up and I will take care of you, get you 50% off, because every little dime you can save right now is good. Last but not least, Start Famous, great merch print shop up in Canada. You guys need to get anything made for a family reunion or your band or your company, go to startfamous.com, and when you check out, use the promo code TOTOT10 and get 10% off your order. So if you guys have a band or a company and you want to sponsor an episode or two, you can hit me up. It's tototpodcast@gmail.com or on any of the social media platforms at tototpodcast. And speaking of supporting the show, if you want to become a patron, you can head on over to patreon.com/TOTOT-podcast. It's a really cool community, and I do some bonus content here and there for the patrons. There's 3 financial tiers that you can pledge and help the show out. It does cost some money to keep the podcast going. I would like to give a shout out to our Patreon producers, Mr. Bob Foster from Hemet, California, and John Exton from Stafford, England. Thank you guys so much for being producers. And we have a new patron. It's our first patron from Japan. I'd like to give a shout out to Hiro from Kyoto, Japan. Thank you so much for signing up over on the Patreon. It means a lot to me, especially in these times. I hope that you guys are all safe, and I don't know, it's great that you guys want to be a part of this ride with me. So thank you so much to all the patrons. If you guys don't want to do Patreon or any of that stuff, but you feel like this show is worth something, you can hit up my Venmo. It is at Christopher Swinney. That is ChristopherSwinney. And that's it for me trying to get money from you guys. So I have one cool thing today. I have a radio segment. So cue the theme music. Radio. When I've got the music, I've got the place to go. Radio. When I've got the music in me, I got a place to go. On this edition of TOTOT Radio, I've been feeling pretty nostalgic lately as I've been stuck at home, not able to work or do anything. I've been going through some old boxes of memories and things from being in different bands and touring. And I found a copy of this CD from a band that I used to tour with quite a bit. They're a local kind of central Indiana band that my old band Chronic Chaos toured with all the time. They're a band called Corporate Circus, and I've kind of lost contact with a lot of the guys. I talk to them on Facebook now and then, but man, I found their No Place Like Home record, and it's killer. It's so good, and it brought back all these memories of shows that we played in Indianapolis and Fort Wayne and Warsaw and all these different places, Marion, Indiana. It reminded me that back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a really cool scene in the Midwest. I mean, especially around here in central Indiana. There were punk bands and hardcore bands and emo bands and ska bands. There were so many different kinds of bands. And it was just a really good time to be playing music. And I miss it. I'd really like to, I'd like to have some of those old school guys from the Indiana bands come on the show. And especially everybody from Corporate Circus. So I don't know if you guys are listening or not, but I've been nostalgic lately. I've been listening to your record quite a bit. I miss you guys. So shout out to Ryan and Josh and Corey and Jeremy and all you guys. Great record and great band. And I'm going to play my favorite song I think you guys ever did. It is a song called Fake. And I hope you guys enjoy it. You can check them out there. I just checked it out. They're on Spotify and Apple Music and everything. So this is Corporate Circus with Fake from their record from 2002, I think. Yeah, 2002, No Place Like Home. Here we go.
find you true. If I ever find you true.
So there it was, Fake by Corporate Circus off of their 2002 record, There's No Place Like Home. Shout out to my boys in Corporate Circus. I miss you guys. Got to have you on the show real soon. If you guys like that song, you could check them out on Spotify and Apple Music and all of the streaming platforms. Just search for Corporate Circus. They're also on Facebook and all over the place. And I think they're still doing some stuff. Ryan's posted some new songs here recently. I don't know if it's like solo stuff or the band, but yeah, man, nostalgia. I love Corporate Circus. We had some good times together, some good tours. If they come on the show, they'll have to talk about when we got to Florida at 6 a.m. We were all in one van. And Corey, if you're listening to this, Corey got out of the van. We just eaten some food, and it was the first time he'd seen the ocean. And he jumped in the water and drank some salt water and got sick and ended up throwing up all over the place. So hopefully we'll tell that story a little more in depth when they're on the show. But that is it for the intro. Thank you guys for listening. If you could, wherever you listen, subscribe, rate, and review. It really goes a long way to help the show out. And it's the cheapest way to help the show out because it is free. It just takes a minute of your time. And that's it. Hit me up on the socials at TOTOT Podcast. And without further ado, I'm going to jump into my awesome conversation with Jen and Poli from the Bombpops. You guys are going to love it. There's a lot of COVID-19 talk, but also a lot of talk about their new record, Death in Venice Beach. Here we go. And I'm on the line with not one guest, but two guests, Poli and Jen from the Bombpops. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, staying inside.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people have been affected by this. I know that you guys just released a new record, Death in Venice Beach. And I know that you had a lot of release shows booked and a big tour coming up. Has it been like just a crazy for you guys having to cancel everything?
Yeah. I mean, like what you could imagine. It's messy and it sucks, you know?
Yeah, for us, it was like this tour. We had our release shows that came. Our LA one was the same day that our record came out. We had two other ones in Southern California, and then we were going on tour the following week, and all the major cities were selling out. Like, it was projected that most of these shows would sell out on this tour, and I mean, we've never sold out a show of our own before, so that was like a really big thing for us. And something you kind of always want to strive for as a band. It's like, to sell out your own show is an incredible thing, I would imagine.
Well, I'm sure you guys are going to get to figure that out soon, though.
Yeah.
Like within the next 2 years, whenever the shows start up again, right?
Dude, yeah, it's going to be longer than people think. It's not going to be like I really don't think it's going to be this summer or later this fall. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's just like it starts getting really like overwhelming to think about because everything's getting pushed back. But what about the things that were already planned then? It's like impossible. It's like how I trip out on like how do airlines like get it back on track when flights are canceled? Like everything is just going to be like pushed behind. So I agree with what Jen's saying. Is I think that it is longer than we think.
Well, yeah, and I don't think a lot of people listening maybe understand. I got into it pretty deep when I had Tim from Avail on the show, but when you're booking a tour and you actually have a booking agent that is booking you, you kind of almost put bids in different markets at different venues. And so, like you said, there's stuff that's booked almost a year in advance. So trying to reschedule all this stuff might be kind of difficult because of things that are already going to be happening at those venues.
Oh, it's going to be so difficult because when this nobody knows how to deal with this at all from every single level, from people just on, at home level, on a school level, on a work level, on anything. So let alone how this is going to affect the music industry. Nobody knows. And, I think whenever the word is clear that people can start gathering together again, every single band in the world is going to be wanting to play live shows again. It's going to be such a hugely oversaturated market. And also people are going to come out of this without much money. Yeah. So we're going to have to charge lower ticket sales. And this is our industry that has suffered for, artists to make music because all we have now is touring. That's all we have. And so now we don't have that. It's a really dangerous time to be in a band.
I keep telling my wife, like every day I wake up and we look at the death toll and everything. It's like we're living in a movie. Like it's insane.
Yeah. And I don't know, we didn't include this in a lot of our, like our bio or any really the press stuff because we had no way to know that it was going to happen. But basically we got word that it was officially like considered a pandemic early in the week of our release to come out. And then on Friday, our record came out on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
During this pandemic, when this pandemic really hit the United States and we started to see, stuff being closed down. And we were still that day trying to maybe do our record release show. But it was that day that the mayor of LA was, banned gatherings of more than 100 or whatever. But the record is actually named after Venice is a novel that takes place in 1911 in Venice, Italy during the cholera pandemic.
Wow.
So it was pretty it was just a really strange coincidence. You couldn't have planned that or thought too much about it. But yeah, our record came out Friday the 13th during a now pandemic named after a piece of art about a pandemic. It's pretty weird.
You guys are like prophetic, like The Simpsons. You guys called it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I was looking through Netflix. I had just got back from a trip out west. I went out to Portland, Oregon to see some family. And when I got back, I was on Netflix and there was this brand new documentary about a virus, like a pandemic that came out like a week before it hit.
Oh my God.
I know. I still want to watch that. Isn't it called Pandemic or there's another one?
Yeah, I believe it is. There's also like a movie from the 90s called Outbreak that got really big on Netflix too.
Right. Yeah, I know a couple people that watched Outbreak. But that's one of my worst fears as a child was the bubonic plague.
Oh, really?
I feel for you so bad, with this.
I can't even, it caused, I was so obsessed with it that it actually caused me to be, severe, mental illness over it.
Wow.
Actually, I'm not even exaggerating. I don't know. I obsessed about it. I knew everything about it. I was and it wasn't necessarily there were so many aspects of it that were frightening to me. Yeah. But the one, obviously you're dying and your like body's rotting and the stench and all of that. But the main thing was that you couldn't see or touch or be near your loved ones. Like you all did die alone. Like nobody could touch you. You couldn't, because you would get it.
Yeah.
And that's like what this is without the body rotting. It's like.
So would either of you say that before this you were kind of a germaphobe? Like my sister is pretty much a germaphobe, so I know she's going crazy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was necessarily a germaphobe before, but definitely more conscious about it now.
Yeah.
After having my kid, I was like, germs or like whatever, you have to get over it. But like, yeah, now
it's different, right?
Yeah, I had to work through, like I was when I was a kid. I really was. I had like severe OCD, and came from the like being worried about the bubonic plague. But I don't anymore. I didn't. But now, and I'm not even now. I'm not. But I think we're gonna come out of like when you go in a good way. People do need to be more conscious of themselves, and especially during the flu season. Everyone else goes out to the shows, and people still go to work when they have the flu. I think it's going to change the way that people. I don't know. It's just made people more aware of their own, of yourselves, and being socially responsible when you're sick. And that's not something that we really do here. We don't live in a place where if you work in a restaurant or you work. Even in an office or wherever, you still go to work when you're sick.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have no option to do it. And that's actually clearly really dangerous. So hopefully that people, become a little bit more aware after this goes away.
So, Poli, being a parent, I'm a parent myself. I have 2 toddlers. Does it do you think maybe you have a different outlook on this because you're a parent and you want to make sure your son's safe and that everything, like, I know that for me, if I was, the way I used to be, I didn't have a wife, I didn't have any kids, this would scare me, but I think I would maybe have a little less to lose or less things to worry about. With my kids, I almost want to just not leave the house because I want to make sure that, for one, they're safe, but for 2, I stay safe so I don't leave them at some point. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, totally. You kind of have that like mama bear, papa bear instinct. And also just protecting them from being scared. Like I realized how much my husband and I like are talking about it and the real numbers and everything in front of him. And so you have that kind of like where you want to protect them. You want them to know what's going on. Like he's 7. Your kids are younger, so they probably don't know as much.
They don't really know they just want to go to grandma's house. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, and like, but then how do you explain that you can't? You know what I mean? It's like, so I don't know. I feel almost bad in a way that like I have a kid right now that is alive that has to like do this because like Jen was texting me the other day. Like I can't imagine being 7 and not being able to go play with your friends, go to school, go to dance class, like so. But yeah, definitely. And with being type 1, I'm, high risk because my immune system is compromised. So my husband will like go to the stores. He absolutely has to with the gloves and everything. And Adler stays home with me, but that's all we can do.
So, speaking of, being type 1 and being at high risk for that, I've been looking through a lot of the lyrics and stuff for the new record. I know the song Double Arrows actually references a seizure that you had on tour in 2018. Can you kind of take me through what happened and was there any ill effects after that?
Just a little like PTSD probably. With type 1s, like it's not common, but it's not like rare that like we have seizures. Sometimes my brother has had a couple seizures. He's type 1 as well, but we were on tour. Like long story short, kind of, we were on tour and we got up at the hotel, had breakfast, and I think I have 2 different types of insulin. One is like fast acting, and one I do in the morning is like a slow release, like drip almost for throughout 24 hours. So I might have mixed those up. I might have just done too much insulin for what I was eating. And so we stopped at a gas station a little while after we left, and I went to the bathroom, and like as soon as I like flushed the toilet and like got up, I was like, whoa, my blood feels low. Like it came on so quick. And our tour manager, his wife is type 1, and so he was carrying around one of those emergency glucagon pens. That's a big needle that you just jam into somebody if they are going low or having a seizure. Luckily, he had one of those because I never carried one around before. And I saw him in the gas station. I came out of the bathroom, went right to him, and it was happening. I couldn't even keep anything down. I was throwing up, and he like brought me over to this like bench, and then I just woke up like a few minutes later with paramedics around me. It was terrifying. I remember like seeing Jen when I woke up, and just like I was like, what happened? And didn't remember. It took a while for my memory to come back. Like, you know, thankfully no like long-term damage. They do like all the, you know, CT scans or whatever. And so I couldn't finish out the tour. I would ask my tour manager, I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, you are going to be so sore tomorrow. And I flew home the next day, and I got home and I couldn't barely move. Like, just because you realize all the muscles tense up, and like the front of my neck, like everything, and my tongue was all ripped up, and it was terrifying, and definitely a big wake up call, which, you know, eventually led me to stop drinking and just really just focus on, you know, on my health, because back to the kid thing too, I got to be for him, and that's my main, you know, responsibility and motivation.
My father was type 1 as well. He got diagnosed when he was in college, like freshman or sophomore year. How early did they find it for you?
I was 16.
16?
Yeah, my dad also, it's super genetic. My dad was 16 as well, and then my brother, who's 7 years younger than me, got it when he was 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being 16, because you can kind of, you know, you can eat whatever you want. You've got that metabolism, and then you have to start taking care of yourself and actually watching what you're eating. You know, it's crazy.
Well, right. And 16, you know, I was just got my license. I was just starting to like party and smoke weed and like rebel and like have my own little freedom a little bit. And so it was a rough time for sure. Like my brother, it sucks. He got diagnosed, you know, at such a young age, but at the same time, then it kind of, you're used to it. Like I lived 16 years of my life without having to worry about that. So took a while to get used to. It's still is hard to get used to.
So when you guys are writing, you know, not just music, but the lyrics for the new songs, like I said, I was going through a lot of the lyrics, and, you know, there's the song that references the fire at Notre Dame Cathedral. And there's a lot of stuff that it is called Death in Venice Beach. And, you know, you explain that it's kind of inspired by that book, but there's a lot of references to Los Angeles and different things. Was that a conscious effort, or did that just kind of all come together when you guys started writing?
I think it just kind of came together. It wasn't like we sat down and the title of the record was named after we were finished with the album. It wasn't a before thing, like let's sit down and, you know, write a concept album. So I think that it definitely wasn't a conscious thing. It just naturally happened. And when we brought our songs together, we realized that there was a lot of themes that tied into each other, flowing between the songs, which was really cool. And that's why that title made sense when we were trying to name the record. It's kind of about the struggle of the artist and the price you pay to have an artistic life. And it's also kind of a cautionary tale as to, you know, people don't go out there. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to become an artist. And it just kind of happens to you. And sometimes you're absorbed by it so much that it consumes your life. And so, yeah, I don't think it was conscious. It came together naturally, though.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that from the last time you were on the podcast, Jen, that you spent a lot of time in Italy. You played with a band over there. You lived over there for quite a while. Have you been in contact with your friends in Italy? I know how hard they've gotten hit. Are they doing okay?
Yeah, that is why we called this tour earlier than we announced it, as far as postponing it. I had been in contact with them about it, and they were the ones that really woke me up about it before it hit here. 2 weeks before it really started to go down here, they were already on lockdown, and my friends were saying early on, your shows are going to be canceled. All of your concerts are going to be canceled over there. And if they're not, they should be. Don't do it. But you will find out. It will happen to you. And everything that they've said, everything has happened within about a week's to 2 weeks difference.
Wow.
And I think that they early on, I think that country has more regard for its elderly.
Yeah.
They, over here, we don't live with our grandparents or our parents. We don't really even see them that much in some cases. They're very close with them. A lot of families live together, and they took on the responsibility of it very early on to protect family members and their loved ones. And so, yeah, it was crazy. It's just so crazy because I remember when he was telling me about their shows being canceled through all of May, and that's their whole livelihood. I was like, that is so crazy. That's some weird Italian shit right there. Of course you guys would do that. You guys are antiquated in how you deal with, disasters, and, I can't, that doesn't make sense. And he was saying, he's like, yeah, if I go to a restaurant, I have to sit 2 meters away from you. I was like, it doesn't even make sense. That's so stupid. And first it was the schools closing, but all the other stuff, or first it was the concerts, and then it was the schools, but you could still go to the restaurants and the bars. And it happened the exact same way here. And once the CDC released, that's when I really started paying attention to it. And once the CDC released their thing saying that, the most high-risk people are elderly and people with compromised immune systems, I was like, well, we can't go on this tour. Can't go on this tour regardless of what cities do. And at that point, I think Seattle had first shut it down, and then there was a couple other cities, but there was no risking it. There was no us getting on a plane with Poli and us getting stuck somewhere, or having just be overly exposed to that.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I was on this trip out west. I have some family on the West Coast, and my mom was with me because I took her to see her sister out in Oregon. And the whole time we're on the way out there, she's talking about it. I hadn't even heard about it. And she was like wearing a mask in the airport, and I was making fun of her. And we got back, and the next day, like, I teach guitar for a living, and the store that I teach at actually closed down. I'm like, what's going on? And then everything happened all at once. And I just wasn't on the internet like the whole time that I was out west. I didn't know how bad it was, and I got home and it just slapped me in the face.
Yeah, I felt a little bit fortunate to have that connection to them, because first of all, I don't know how the world has ignored what's going on in China or Italy. It's amazing. And in Italy, they were saying, we're lucky that it happened to China first before it happened to us, because we learned and we're doing exactly what they're doing. We're shutting everything down. And he was saying, you guys are going to have a huge problem because your country is not addressing it. And it's there. He's like, it's there. Everyone's walking around. Your country is testing people. And Italy has some of the higher death tolls because they're actually reporting and being honest about their cases, and they're able to test people. And as you see, every day, it's more and more cases. It went from 5,000 to 20,000.
Yeah.
It's because people are getting tested. And that really opened up my eyes too. He sent me these 2 documentaries on YouTube about what happened in China. And I watched those immediately and called our manager and was like, this is not happening right now.
So speaking of your manager, a good friend of mine, Mr. Rick DeVoe.
Yes.
So he was just on the show a couple weeks ago. We'll get away from some of the virus talk. I'm sure we'll get back into it at some point because it's all anybody's thinking about. But why don't you take me kind of down the road of how you guys and Rick got hooked up? Either of you, by the way. It's kind of weird. I'm looking at both of your faces right now.
I know. Well, it's funny because Poli and I grew up in North County, San Diego. Carl had Vista. We both lived in Oceanside at one point. And Rick DeVoe lives in Leucadia. But growing up in Carlsbad, he was actually lived in my dad's neighborhood. And I remember figuring this out when I was in middle school because we were watching the Urethra Chronicles, and the part when Tom's sitting on a curb and he's talking about how he listened to Screeching Weasel and Descendants, which is how I know about Descendants and Screeching Weasel was from that documentary. But I kept rewinding it because I was like, that's my neighborhood. He's sitting on the curb. That house is definitely in our neighborhood. And it turned out it was Rick DeVoe's house. So we'd ride our bikes over there and kind of stalk Rick DeVoe, and he'd give out stickers and stuff. His wife was always really nice. So he's always been a local legend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went over, we met him through Mike. Fat Mike hooked us up basically with Rick. And he said, I've got this band, and I don't know, I think you really need to manage him, kind of thing. And that's basically how it worked out.
Has it been pretty cool? I mean, Rick really knows his stuff. He's a hard worker as far as the management side goes.
Yeah, it's been super cool. We were just about to do some really rad stuff. I mean,
we know he's a hard worker because he's had to go through and fix all this bullshit that's happening.
So did you talk when you guys got to be friends and everything, and he wanted to work with the band? Did you mention the fact that you used to stalk his house on your bike when you were young?
Yeah. I think I remember he said, he's like, man, I love your band and everything, but he's like, I like it so much more that you guys are from here. He really has a lot of, he's pride for his community, and he does a lot with his community. He's really involved. North San Diego has a kind of small town vibe, and everybody knows everyone. He's really connected. So he, after he agreed to work with us, he even liked that aspect of it a lot more, I think.
That's awesome. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the sliding into the Bombpops DMs. I know that I follow you guys on all the social networks, and I'm pretty plugged in with some people at Fat Records. So I saw it right away, but then just the reach of that, people that aren't even in like the DIY punk community that are sharing it on Twitter and sharing it on Facebook. I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I've talked to some other, females I've had on the podcast that really appreciated kind of what you guys did, because there's a lot of douchebaggy guys out there. And from what you guys put on that video, it's apparent that there is. Did you see like a decline in messages that you guys got? Like, what was the response from that when you guys put that out?
I don't know. I think the DMs keep coming. I don't think they've really slowed down.
They definitely haven't slowed down.
I don't know.
Did you notice a difference in the type of DMs, or like a different?
There was a few people that kind of, you could tell were going for it, trying to be fine with it. But for the most part, the DMs, like initially after that, came in with guys being like apologizing that didn't do anything. I just say, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed to be a man. And I'd like to leave you with a really nice compliment. I think your music is awesome. You guys put out fantastic songs, whatever, trying to be like, I think people need to compliment you more on your music or whatever. And that's fine. And then there's still like a steady influx of people that either didn't see the thing or just don't care.
A lot of, because after we posted like a few of the first ones, and then people were like commenting on the more recent ones, being like, oh, these are just, now people are just trying to get on it, and they're just, and I'm like, no, these are still like, we, Hollywood magic, we filmed these like all in a couple times and changed our shirts or whatever, it's like, these are still all old. There was that many of them. Like, these are not because like they're trying to get on the sliding into the DM thing now. These are just,
yeah.
And then we had one guy that was like threatening to go to the police.
Oh yeah, the guy who sent me a picture. It wasn't like his full-on dick, but he was in his underwear and had a boner. And he was like, he would message me all the time, every other day, and I never ever responded to him. And I read some of his stuff, and Chris, when he was making the video, flashed the picture, and the guy wrote me and said, "That's my intellectual property."
Intellectual is a pretty strong term to use.
Yeah, I was like, there's nothing intellectual about that. And going to the police with this, you need to take it down. I said, please go to the police with this. I hope you do, because they're going to laugh at you.
So where did the idea come from? Because it's a brilliant idea, and I think that it did a lot of good. I mean, at least maybe now guys that are douchey like that might think twice before they do something like that.
Yeah, well, I had started. I remember I got one back in June that was so horrific. I read it it was just like
really graphic. And
I screenshotted that, and then they come in all the time, and I read through them, and I never deleted them because and if it's really bad, like I'll block the person.
Yeah.
But I never deleted them because I felt like I wanted to do something with them. So that day I went back and screenshotted I spent a whole day going through my DMs and the Bombpops DMs and screenshotting them. And I made a photo album on my phone. And then when we were on tour with Masked Intruder, we brought along Chris Grau, who does our music videos. He was filming some content. And I just was reading one for fun. And I kind of wanted to do Twitter and put them out just on Twitter. And I read one, and then I kept reading. And Chris was like, oh, let me film that. This is funny content for the, tour stuff. And then I kept reading them. He's like, okay, I'm stopping. This is a thing. I seriously thought you had like a few of them, and but you have so many. We need to make this a series. Let's film it, right. And you guys can read both of yours and from the band.
Yeah. So then we just spent the rest of the time like on that drive where I was like going through all mine and screenshotting them, and we were just all dying. Just like, holy shit, we can do a lot with all this.
Yeah, so we filmed them. Like Polly was saying, we had different episodes come out, but all of that stuff was from the first initial batch.
Yeah.
So we just started filming again, but before we were, quarantined and all that, filming some of this stuff. So we'll have some more.
So there are some more episodes coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that's really annoying about it is when we post a picture on our Instagrams, then people leave comments, oh, this is just bait for DMs. Get ready for more DMs. And it's not the case. That's the whole problem. Just because we're posting a picture of ourselves doesn't mean it's an invitation to say something raunchy or disgusting, and the fact that people think that we're putting that out there as bait. I mean, the whole, you don't get it at that point.
Yeah.
Because we can post whatever we want, and you can comment and talk to us, and we always talk to people or our fans at shows. We'll write back, comment people, but that's not the way to get us to write back to you.
Well, I've never understood. I had Melissa Brooks from the Aqua Dolls, who's another band that Rick works with. She was on the program about a month ago, and we were kind of talking about, the messages that they get on their social media. And I can't even imagine, like, even if it wasn't an artist that I was reaching out to, just like a girl that maybe I wanted to go on a date with when I was single, why anything like those messages you guys get why you would think that would remotely work. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah. It's like when guys think that they're like catcalling is going to work.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago, I was at my kid's bus stop, and it's like, I seriously think about these things like, oh, maybe I shouldn't wear like, it's not even short shorts, but just like shorts with my like tube sock, whatever. I'm just lounging around. You have to like, it's annoying to have to like think about that before for whatever reason. I shouldn't, and then like I'm standing at the bus stop and like two cars go by and both of them like whistle at me and like slow down. And
the bus stop.
Yeah, at the bus stop.
That's your kid.
If I whistle really well, she's going to get in my car with me.
Yeah, and I like texted my husband, and I'm like, okay, like just let you know, this car, if I disappear, this was an Uber driver. It was an Uber driver and a guy in a green truck. Okay.
I just don't understand it, but I'm excited. There's going to be more episodes. I think you guys are doing God's work.
Yes.
Right, exposing all these douchebaggy guys out there. But okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about was the production of the new record. It's so great. Good buddy of mine, Yo Tom from Useless ID, he helped out. I know Fat Mike had a lot to do with it, and then Chris Fogel from the Gamuts. What was everybody's like? I guess what did everybody do? I know that Yo Tom was out in Denver with you guys. Did Mike make an appearance as well? Like, how did everybody contribute?
No, Mike suggested we work with Yo Tom, and that was after actually Mike suggested that he produced the record. And we were like, well, at the time we were just said no because we wanted to not do it in LA, and also and Mike's great and all, but we just wanted to do our own thing with it. But Mike then, so when we wanted to do it with Fogel of the Gamuts, who also did Fear of Missing Out, and we told Mike, and Mike's like, you guys can do whatever you want to do. And then he called later and he's like, okay, I got someone, I want to produce your record. We're like, okay, well, we already got someone that's our record. And he's like, no, but listen, it's going to be great. And he suggested Yo Tom. And that moment, I know that Yo Tom and Chris Fogel had worked together before on some stuff. And I was like, okay, that's a really good suggestion, Mike. And Mike was like, just, you got to do it. He's great. He's going to be great for your band. And so we went ahead and did with that. So Chris Fogel and Yo Tom both produced it. Mike had a lot of to do with the production after we recorded.
Okay.
So and also his suggestion of us going with Yo Tom. And Yo Tom, though, was very involved before we even went into the studio, before we went to Denver. With my songs, I voice memoed, my songs to him. Before we even really decided to work with him, I had sent voice memo of 3 of my songs to Yo Tom of, these are how they are. These are how I think they are. And he then voice memoed me back with what he would do with the songs. For the most part, he added chords and kind of rearranged it. And what the first one he sent me made me cry. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the second one was great too. And then the third one, I was like, I like my way better. It's like, oh, no worries.
Yeah.
You can do that, or maybe I could take a stab and try a different approach to it. And so he was very cool about it. And then Poli hadn't sent him stuff, so she needed to meet with him and see how like he vibed with her songs. And so then the decision was made to go out there, and he was with us the entire time. And then after we recorded, we didn't quite have enough time to, there's a lot of other harmonies and stuff that we added later. And we actually were okay, but Mike was like, where's your high harmonies? Where's your this? Where's that? And so Mike had a lot of really great suggestions. So that's the 3 of them really did have, they all had a great hand in it.
So speaking of Fat Mike, now that we're in this quarantine because of the virus, they're releasing a lot of NoFX stuff, videos, brand new songs. And I was checking out the other day on YouTube, the new song, I Love You More Than I Hate Me. And who do I see playing the song but the Bombpops? How did that all come about?
Mike just told us that he wanted and Chris, that he wanted us to be in the video. And Chris Grau, who does our videos, we introduced him to Mike, and Mike is using him for everything now. Mike loves working with Chris Grau. So Mike said that he wanted us to be like the band singing the song in the video, and how can you say no to that?
Well, and I mean, also, Smelly's dying in the bathtub and Polly's peeing in the sink. It's a great video.
I know, and I really peed in it too.
You really did?
Yeah, Chris was like, the director was like, oh shit. The director was like, okay, we're done. And I'm like, I'm not. I was still going. And there's like everyone in there. Like everyone saw my vagina for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'll tell you what, I've had you guys on the phone for a while. I want you to get back to your families or whatever you're doing, because, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do have a couple listener questions, if you guys wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Awesome. So you guys can both like answer like separately or whatever. But Bob from California, He wants to know what one song or album is helping you get through this crisis. We'll go with Jen, and then we can go with Polly.
Well,
it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one.
I don't even think. I think music in a weird way has been making me sad the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go play.
There's this album that I was listening to a lot the day that everything kind of went down, and it's Marty Robbins' Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Is that from that movie that's on Netflix? There's a movie called that, I think, on Netflix.
Yeah, there's a Coen Brothers movie, these vignettes, and it's called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and he's this country guy. They covered his song "Cool Water" in Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and so I was looking at it on Spotify and I found Marty Robbins, and this is just the most incredible kind of, you think it's goofy country songs. It's incredible. So that, I think that's gonna like timestamp in my mind as this thing.
Yeah, you'll like always remember it. Like
but the other one is I got the new Get Dead album. It's not out yet. But
I have some of it. Sam's supposed to send me the rest of it.
I kind of just asked. Yeah, I got it, and it's fucking so good. Holy shit!
I heard a lot of the demos. Like there for a while after Sam was on the show, he was sending me all the demos. So yeah, I can't wait to hear the whole thing. I love those guys.
The new Alpine Trio was pretty exciting too.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it out yet. Is it pretty good?
You have to check it out.
Pretty good.
I will,
it's
definitely.
So good. All three songs are so different, and they're so exactly what you want from them. I can't wait to hear more.
Okay, so I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, that's a good one. Like for me, because we were adopting our dog and we were checking out the new Alkaline Trio, and it was like an exciting thing to like listen to because it came out.
Awesome. Okay, I've got one more question. Christopher from Illinois. This is kind of a weird question. He said, if you had to eat only one type of cereal on tour for the rest of your life, if we ever get a tour again, what would you choose as far as cereal is concerned?
God, I think I gotta say Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles?
Or Apple Jacks. I don't know.
Oh my God, I haven't had Apple Jacks in so long, and those are my favorite.
On slices of apples. It's so bomb. But Apple Jacks on apples and eat that shit.
What if you put it on peanut butter on the apple and the Apple Jacks to stick?
So good. So good. Peanut butter, like a little like break in between the apple stuff. And
What about Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Oh,
I love it. It's my favorite.
So my immediate answer is something way more boring because I would choose a high fiber cereal because it'll keep me regular on tour. So if I have to only eat one cereal, it would be the one that I'm going to benefit from.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Boring.
Polly was going with taste and like coolness and.
I need to keep my poop regular on tour.
I do. You know, I do.
Okay, well, I've got one more. I think we've got time if you guys are down. Tony from Montana, he wants to know, and this is kind of a question a lot of people always ask, if you could tour with any band, like still active or not active, who would you choose? We'll go with Polly first.
Green Day.
Green Day, okay. Well, I know you guys have a connection with Billy. Didn't he like hook you guys up with guitars or something?
He did.
He did.
He's up with a tour now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Green Day, something like some arena rock.
Yeah.
Do it.
That'd be fun, right? So
or Blink or Green Day.
Weezer.
So the thing with Billy Joe, like, can you guys take me through that? Like, have you guys met him a few times? Like, how did that all come about when he hooked you guys up?
We just met him through our on the internet. Really, like he started following the Bombpops, and then he talked to us a lot about our guitars. He was always interested in our. Polly and I have some pretty cool guitars, going to say.
Yeah,
So we've got from our friend in Switzerland who does these vintage cars, and Neil has some from him as well. So that's kind of how the conversation started. And then I have the old Billy Joe signature, and we did meet him at a Green Day show. He went to a Green Day show, and he was like, "How come you never play my guitar?" I was, well, I don't, because the few issues I had with that regular model. It it wasn't staying in tune, and also the output on the pickup that it came with was super, super hot, that it just had to like unmanageable back out of my JC 100, and it gave me tips and mod it. And modded it that way, and it really did help. He's like, that's what he's done to his. He puts in this antiquity PM in there. And so, yeah, I don't know if Antiquity P90, whatever it is a pickup called Antiquity. Then, so I think he just wanted us to play his new ones because we had played his old ones before, and I told them.
He sent Jen a message, and it was like, we were on tour too. I was sleeping in the back seat, and Jen's like, "Hey, Billy Joe just hit me up and said he's sending us guitars." And I was like, "What the fuck?" What? We were like rolling up to the show. It was like perfect timing. And I was like, it was like around Christmas time. And I was like, best Christmas present ever.
That's awesome. Well, if he listens to this, Billy, we met a long time ago. I'd love to have you on the show, man. I got your girls here that I'm talking to. You need to come on as well.
That's right.
He's probably not listening. Not through any fault of yours.
You never know when he's lurking, you know? Like, we tripped out when he was following the Bombpops and then following us. And then when we met him, the first thing he said to me was like, "Your kid is adorable, by the way." And I'm like, what the fuck?
Listen to this. Okay, so I've known Stefan from the Descendants for a while. I wouldn't say we're like super close, but we've kind of been in the same circles, and we've met and we've talked. When I went to do my interview with him for the podcast when they were on tour, the first thing he said, like, my last name is Swinney, and on all my social media, my son, we call him Mini Swinney. And the first thing that Stefan said is, "How's Mini Swinney doing?" And I almost passed out. Like, it was crazy.
I know. It's like when they're like asking about your kids, it's so sweet.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Billy Joe's he's super sweet, and he just, sometimes I'll leave like a comment when we're on tour and stuff. He was just like, "Guys, look like you guys are having fun." Or what did he say one time? I forget what we were doing. We were posted up in a hotel. I think we flew home from Europe, but we flew to the fest. And we had like 3 days before the fest, and we were just kind of recharging in a hotel. And we were filming those like horror type movies in the hall, like doing stuff, and he commented, or he wrote us a message and was like, "It looks like you guys could have fun in a windstorm." So it's just nice to know that like people like that are watching and paying attention. He wrote us and said that the song, like when the Notre Dame came out, said it was a good song, and he wrote us when we did can of beer, beer.
Even I know the names of your songs better than you do.
He mixed up Can of Worms and Dear Beer. Can of Beer. Check out this new song, Can of Beer.
Dear Worms. Yeah, he said that Dear Beer was like the song of the summer. So it's always just really random, really nice, encouraging things.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get a hashtag going. Billy Joe, come on that one time on tour. The Bombpops said so. That's a really long hashtag. But so I know that we're all kind of on lockdown. We've talked about it quite a bit. Are there any talks of like future plans for the band? I know you're going to go on tour at some point, but like, what is the camp thinking about right now?
There's just no actual way to predict this stuff. So we're lay low. Everybody's in the same boat. Like, I don't even want to. It's not even worth like talking about. What shows as soon as it's safe, we'll be playing shows.
Okay,
that's all there is. Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you guys want to plug your socials or anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, you can find us, like, everything is at the Bombpops. We've got /the Bombpops everywhere. Instagram at the Bombpops, Facebook.com/the Bombpops, Twitter /the Bombpops. Check out our YouTube channel too.
Your videos are great, by the way.
Thank you. We have a lot of fun with them. Yeah, check out YouTube. I think it's slash the Bombpops as well.
Cool. Well, I just want to say thank you guys so much. You know, Jen, this is your second time on the show. The first time was a little weird.
Yeah.
You're in the van with Teenage Bottle Rocket. We didn't get to talk about very much. But
Yeah, it was like super weird because I was like, I don't even like talking in the van on the phone, you know, and even if it's fine, but not in that van, and it's just loud and I don't want to like listen to my conversation.
well, hey, I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Polly, it was nice to have you on. Maybe we'll have you on for a part 2 and we'll just keep going back and forth. So when this comes out, I'll let you guys know. I'd like to give a shout out to Vanessa for hooking this up. And I got to say
shout out to Vanessa for doing an awesome job always.
Oh yeah. And shout out to Rick, your manager, one of the best dudes ever.
Yes.
And shout out to Mike and everybody at Fat. It's a wonderful label, and I'm glad you guys have found a home for your band, and I think you guys have great things coming in the future.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, I will talk to you guys later.
And hit us up whenever.
Yeah, definitely.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
You guys stay safe too. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Bye.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye.
So there it was, my conversation with Jen and Polly from the Bombpops. I got to say, I had a great time having Jen and Polly on the show, and hopefully they'll be back in the future. It'll be Jen's 3rd time, Polly's 2nd time. Starting to go back and get some guests coming back for their 2nd times. You know, Jordan was on the show. Jordan, formerly of Strung Out, was on the show a couple times. And yeah, it's just nice. I'm starting to, now that I hit the 100 mark, I'm starting to have some people back on the program. But I also have a lot of new people coming up as well. Some crazy guests that you guys are going to have to wait in the coming weeks. I may be putting out more than one episode a week. Everybody's at home and they've got time to do stuff. So maybe I'll try to get some more content up. But that is it for this week. Next week on the program, it's going to be a good one. Mr. Fred Mascherino from The Color Fred and formerly of Taking Back Sunday. We had such a great time talking. And since we did the interview, he's actually, I've seen on Facebook, he's been doing this cool thing where he like gives you the stems of this song that he wrote, and you can like remix it and you can add your own guitar stuff and you can sing over it. And it's cool, the stuff that's happening during this pandemic, during the lockdown. People are creating really cool content, and they're collaborating across like weird, like remote platforms and using Zoom and Skype and everything. And I don't know, it's kind of cool that we have all this technology to get us through this. I was just talking to my wife the other day, and man, could you imagine if we were going through this back the last time it happened, like the Spanish flu, like 1917. I mean, I guess they didn't know what they had. They didn't know what a computer was or anything, but man, if I just had to sit around all day with like no TV and no cell phone and not work on a podcast or not play my guitar or whatever, I'd be going crazy. So I'm glad that we have some distractions during this crazy thing, and I will never take for granted again just being able to go to a restaurant or go to work, or I don't know, like shake someone's hand that you meet for the first time. That's the weirdest thing. I'm a hugger. I like to shake hands, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I was watching a show today where somebody was saying, some like medical expert was saying that we're going to have to wear masks in public for like the next 2 years. And it's going to be a new normal, and it's going to be strange, but we're going to have to get used to it and stick together and make sure that we take care of each other. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you're doing well during all this craziness, the crazy times that we're living in. Like I said, you can call the hotline or send me an email, whatever. I want to know how you guys are doing with all of this stuff that's going on. So you can call the hotline. It is 1-765-372-8818. Also, I've started this new thing over on the Facebook group. What record changed your life? I would like you to call the hotline as well, or send me an email or whatever. Tell me about the record that changed your life, and I will play a song off of that record and give you a shout out on a radio segment. So I hope you guys are doing well. You can always send me top 5 lists. I also have the 2-year anniversary episode, the Ask Chris episode, coming up. It's kind of 50-50 if my wife's going to be involved, because last time my mother watched my kids and we got to record the podcast, but this time we're here quarantined and we don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm still going to do the Ask Chris segment, and I can still ask my wife some questions. So if you have any questions for Felicia as well, hit me up on any of the socials, shoot me an email, call the hotline, do whatever you want. And I'd like to thank everybody that has donated on Venmo. It's been really, really cool. Like, sometimes I feel weird asking like, oh, if you want to donate to help the show. But, you know, in these times when, you know, I've been out of work for a month and the podcast does cost some money to keep going. Like I do have a network, but there's a lot of costs that are accrued with doing it. And you guys are super generous and I really, really appreciate it. And if you guys are feeling generous, hit it up at Venmo at Christopher Swinney. That'd be amazing. If not, totally fine, man. I totally understand. Believe me, nobody's got extra money to kick around these days. So that's it for this week. Like I said, next week on the show, Mr. Fred Mascherino from The Color Fred and formerly of Taking Back Sunday. It's a wonderful conversation, and maybe I'll try to get it out early for you guys. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave you guys with my favorite song on the new Bombpops record. It is called Double Arrows Down. It's actually the song we were talking about when Poli was talking about being on tour and having her seizure, and she kind of like passed out, and this song, the lyrics kind of, you know, are right along with that whole experience. We talked about it in the conversation. So please go out and get some Bombpop stuff. Hit up fatrec.com, you know, check them out on Spotify, whatever. Their new record is amazing and you're going to love it if you haven't checked it out already. It's called Death in Venice Beach. But this is the Bombpops with Double Arrows Down. I will see you guys next week. Chris out.
I'm sitting here, tired of living life that's filled with fear. It's not fair. I'm just sick of being scared. Sometimes life deals you a shitty hand. Sometimes your day doesn't go as planned. But with me, I feel like all I do is bleed. There's days I wanna close my eyes and never wake up to my numbers. I just lay there until all I read is low. I'm sick as shit of all these bricks and everybody's ignorance. This needle's wearing thin and there's no end. Sitting there in another cold pharmacy chair, standing by while they suck my veins and while it dry. I can write all these defiant songs, but my life is still relying on machines, and all I do is bleed. There's days I wanna close my eyes and never wake up to my numbers. I just lay there until all I read is low. I'm sick as shit of all these bricks and everybody's ignorance. This needle's wearing thin and there's no end. Last thing I remember before you plunge a needle, I've lied there shaking on this cold gas station floor. Eyes are rolling back into my skull and face to black. Days I wanna close my eyes and never wake up to my numbers. I just lay there until all I read is low. The highs and lows and it's a lit. I'm so tired of explaining it. This needle's wearing thin and there's no end.
Hey guys, it's Alice Lenny. And I see you last one time I turn.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.